Okay. So to test this fully, we would need to have all the different types of questions, right? Right now, we only really have the essay question, but to fully test this, let's create the other types of questions as well. For instance, this fill in the blank question, we would like to be able to see if we actually have things that we can render as blanks. Okay. Also for multiple choice, we would like to have the actual choices and so on and so forth. So let's look at what we have for a schema for the questions. Let's go back to the server side and see what we have for the question. So for the question, we have the title, we have the points, we have the description, we have the question type. Let's add here a denormalized schema that's going to flatten, right, all those derived classes into one single schema, right? So let's see what we have here so far. So we have these first 4 attributes already in here, right? Let's add all the other attributes for the types of questions. So fill in the blanks, true, false, choice, multiple choice, right? So let's look at multiple choice. So in multiple choice, we have an array of strings of choices, right? Choices. So let's see how can we implement that. So looks like this is another one-to-many. See that? This is a one-to-many. Just like this is a one-to-many. Yes? So the way we chose to do this one-to-many from a quiz to a question, we chose to have these as separate collections with separate schemas, separate models, right? What about over here? Well, we could do that same thing, right? We could have a multiple choice being a collection, right? And choices also, that could be a collection. That could be also a collection. But notice that here, we always have to ask ourselves, are we going to have is there a valid use case that we're going to be handling all the choices independently of the multiple choice question? Right? Is that a valid use case? Probably not, right? Probably the choices that are available for a multiple choice question probably only have any meaning as part of the question itself, right? That if you have a multiple choice as a choice, that's too granular, right? A piece of data that it might live outside of its intended use. Make sense? Right? So here we're going to use a different approach. Right? Instead of this having its own schema, instead of having its own data model, right? Instead of doing that, we're going to use what is called an embedded schema approach. Okay? So let's take a look at how to do that. So we have choices is an array of something. It's an array of something. It's an array of whatever that is. Okay? So let's take a look at that. So here we have choices. So it's an array of something. It's an array of something. Well, first of all, we decided to flatten this inheritance relationship. Yes? Everybody okay with that? We flattened it so that the base class here is now subsuming all the fields of the derived classes. Yes? Right. It's called the denormalized strategy, right? Where all the derived are pushed over to the base class. Okay? So that's okay, right? That's because we're using that strategy. And then in here, the array, we need to say, well, it's an array of what? Well, it's an array of the following schema. We're not going to do what we did in the we're not going to do what we did in the quiz schema. In the quiz schema, the object was referencing something that lived elsewhere in a different collection. Here, instead, is going to live right here. Okay, so what does the object look like? Well, those objects look like this. We have a text component that has a string, right? It has a value. There's also a string. And it has a correct, which is a Boolean. Okay? So what this says is that when we render these questions, right, we would iterate over all these choices, and put them as maybe it could be a drop down, right, that somebody can choose as a drop down. It could also be multiple radio buttons, right, and they choose which one is right. Okay, and the text would be what the user sees, right? So this would be a human-friendly piece of text, whereas the value might be some token, right? Some code-friendly piece of text. Okay, like this over here. These are like an enumerated data type, right? Something that we can compare against on the server side. Make sense? Everybody okay? All right. Okay, so let's create one of these guys, right? Let's insert one of these multiple choice questions. Right. So to do that, we have different options. We can do it from within Mongo, right? We can insert one of these. We can say, let's see what the object might look like. Let's do it in our IDE. The JSON. Let me do it in a different IDE. Might look something like this, right? It might be something like let's see. What do we want to look like? So a title. No, those are the quizzes. Let me get the questions. Okay, so we want a title. So it'll be a title. And this is question 5, whatever. We have question 1, 2, 3. Let's say 4. We have a points. Points, maybe 2 points. We have a description. And this might be description 4. Then we have, what else do we have? We have a question type. So question type needs to be what? True, false, right? So this is, no. This is a multiple choice. What are the valid choice? So that's a choice. And finally, what do we need? Finally, we need the actual choices. So the choices will look something like this. Choices, it will be an array of several choices. Right? And this will look like JSON objects, each one having a text, having a value, and having a correct. Yes? Oops, I don't want to say this. Okay? So we'll say that this is choice A, and maybe this is A. And let's copy this. We need maybe 4 choices. 4 choices, make this a little smaller. And this is choice B, C, and D. And this is B, C, and D. And the correct answer is C. Make sense? So this is what we want to insert. All right, excellent. So let's copy that as a JSON object. Do we need anything else here? Question type. Question type is choice. Let's grab that and let's insert that. Oops. We'll do db.question.insert, and we'll do paste. All right, and insert it. We can do a find, and oops, did it not insert? Choice insert. I thought it inserted. Why don't I see it? Oh, I think I said plural. I used plural, right? Ugh. It's question without an S. There we go. Okay, let's try again. Pretty. There we go. So there's my multiple choice question. See that? Right, where we have inserted the choices in there as an array of objects. Right? Notice that it's not a reference like in quiz that references a whole bunch of questions. It's an array of IDs. This is not. Right? This is instead of an array of references to things that live elsewhere. Right? This is actually an array of actual objects in here. Okay, and this is what Mongo prefers. Right? If you have a choice of how to model this, Mongo prefers you to use an embedded schema. Right? It's faster. You don't have to do multiple queries to a database. You get the entire object in one swoop, right? As opposed to having to do multiple queries, where for instance, if you go into a quiz, and now you have to go fetch all the questions for that quiz. But there we don't have a choice, right? Because the use case that we want to implement is that we want to be able maybe to reuse the same question in multiple quizzes. There we don't have a choice. Well, actually, we do have a choice. We could have embedded the entire question inside of the quiz. Right? We could have, instead of having the IDs, we could have embedded the entire question inside here. Yes? But then it would preclude us from having to be able to reuse the question. Right? Well, actually, we could reuse the question, but we would have to introduce redundancy, right? Where the same question is being used in two different quizzes, but instead of being references to the same question, it's actually two copies of the same question elsewhere, right, in two different places. And that introduces redundancy, and if you meant for those to be one single question, then you have the risk of inconsistency, where you update one but not the other, right? And so again, it depends what your use cases are, what your requirements for optimization and keeping track things as one. All right, so excellent. So we have the question. Let's render this, right? So let's grab this question. Let's add it to one of the quizzes, right? And let's try and render it.